Welcome. This is a workshop on a simpler way to ease migraine flares. If you're just joining us and you are live in the chat, if you want to say hello, where you're joining from and how you're feeling, to see who's here today. In this 30-minute workshop, you will learn a simpler way to respond when your migraine symptoms begin to rise. So you can feel calmer, more grounded, and less caught in that spiral of stress and fear that very understandably occur when we experience pain. In our workshop, we're going to explore what happens in the mind and body when our migraine starts to flare, why that fix-it-fast response can sometimes backfire, a more supportive way to respond in the moment, and a short guided practice you can actually use when you notice your symptoms escalating. So this workshop's not about getting it all perfect or doing more. It's really learning a simpler, easier way to meet yourself when things start to feel harder. And in our workshop, you're welcome to participate as much or as little as you'd like. You can keep your video on or off or lay down. And then any questions, you can throw them in the chat, and then we'll leave time at the end for questions. And if I'm new to you, if we haven't met, my name is Adrienne DeLorco. I am a certified yoga instructor and pain reprocessing coach. And I'm the creator of Beyond Migraine Coaching and Yoga for Migraine. I have also been living with migraine for almost 20 years, and I really specialize in helping people with chronic migraine feel better and live fuller lives with simpler, sustainable support. So before we jump into our workshop, I like to start things off just with a couple relaxing breaths because we can all benefit from that. So if you'd like, you can bring one hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. If you'd like to close your eyes or just dim your gaze, you'll simply breathe in through your nose and let it out your mouth. Let's do one more like that. Inhale and sigh it out. And blink those eyes open if they're closed. Welcome back. So let's zoom into that moment when you start to feel your migraine symptoms worsening. So that might be the early prodrome symptoms. Maybe you just notice your neck hurting, you feel tired. Maybe you do start to feel some pain in the head. So whatever symptoms start to grow, what often happens in these moments is, understandably, our thoughts might get confused on what to do. We might feel more anxious. We might feel panic or frustration. Often our thoughts move to, what do I do? Do I take my meds? Do I wait and see? Which one do I take? When do I take? Do I need to just cancel my plans? And we have been trained, understandably, to really monitor our symptoms and respond quickly with migraine. So we have this added pressure of trying to fix it fast. What I invite you to do for the next couple minutes, if you'd like, you can write it in the chat, you can just write it down, you can just think about it, is to take a couple minutes to reflect for yourself. At those moments when your symptoms are escalating, what do you tend to think in these moments? What are you feeling emotionally? What types of action do you take? So we'll give you a moment to reflect. And this will help you see that, one, you probably are not alone in how you respond. And two, to see how these very natural responses can just be slightly adjusted to help us even more in these difficult moments. So reflecting in the chat or just on your own paper or on your phone, when my migraine symptoms worsen, what do I think? What do I feel? And what do I do? So Nancy shared when her symptoms are worsening, feeling more anxious, frustrated, yeah, emotionally feeling more frail and sensitive. Janet shared feeling fear and anxiety. Sarah feeling scared. Yeah, we start to worry if it's gonna ever stop. Karen thinks, usually thinking, oh no, please don't let it get worse. You're starting to see how common these experiences are. Christina shared, oh no, not again. Why? Feeling frustrated. She shared some of the things that she does, like drinking water. Janet's trying to consider which med to take. Jennifer starting to blame myself. Yeah, what did I do? What was it this time? What did I mess up? Connie's worried about what's going to happen that day with her plans. Obsessing, and maybe hyper focusing on symptoms from Sarah, feeling confused. Uh, and then Taryn mentioned wondering, what caused it? What was it? All those decisions. Do I need to cancel plans? When do I make plans? Feeling annoyed, loss of control. Okay, so thank you all for being so open and sharing. Just to validate and acknowledge these are difficult moments when our symptoms arise and we understandably feel very anxious, nervous, panicked. You can see this across the board. So when we experience pain, it is totally normal for our thoughts to get more negative, more pessimistic, more anxious. The pain psychologist, Dr. Rachel Zoffness, who has written many wonderful books, but really she focuses on bringing a biopsychosocial approach to pain management. She describes what you see here, what I just described, as our pain voice. When our pains escalate, our pain voice often comes on, and it's that voice of worries, what ifs, the worst case scenarios. Remember, that's normal. You see this across the board for all of us. It's like our natural response. It's normal. And what happens in our brain when we experience pain, from an evolutionary standpoint, our pain is loud and obnoxious to help us move into action and change our behavior. If pain was quiet, if our leg was broken, we might keep running on it and worsen it. So pain is there to protect us. And it's like this alarm bell that's sounding, something's wrong, there's danger, change course. So when we experience this fear, this danger, this pain, then what happens naturally is our body responds to move into action. And that's where we might have that fight or flight response when we're either going to move into action or we're going to run from the situation. This is our nervous system going into an active sympathetic response. And this is helpful in the wild if we are trying to flee from danger or rest and not run on a broken leg. But when we have migraine, especially chronic migraine, this fear to fix and solve the migraine attack fast and right now can be sometimes counterproductive, and it can actually amplify the symptoms. And some of these panicked and pessimistic and negative thoughts can serve to turn this pain dial up. If you think of pain as like a volume control, this is all ramping it up to 11. And when our nervous system is then in this high alert state, our pain and our symptoms can worsen. So to recap this natural process that happens, when our symptoms go up, naturally, for most of us, our fear, our anxiety go up. And then our nervous system comes activated into a sympathetic response. And then that activation then increases our symptoms more. So it just starts to cycle upward. So it's not only our migraine symptoms, but it's how our system reacts to the migraine as it's starting to escalate, as the symptoms escalate. So in these moments when our symptoms are going up, we then get to respond differently. How do we respond in a way that feels more supportive and helps reduce our suffering? So that's what we're going to practice. Instead of activating and building more anxious thoughts and worry and moving into fix-it mode right away, we want to activate our parasympathetic rest and digest nervous system response. So relaxing into this moment actually helps change our neurotransmitters. It brings on more mood boosting, pain reducing neurotransmitters when we are feeling relaxed, like our endorphins, our dopamine, our serotonin. This helps settle things. And we aim to then cultivate in these moments a sense of safety instead of danger. So taking this moment to help ourselves feel safe when our symptoms are escalating, rather than jumping right away into fix-it mode. So I want to share just a 3-step plan, and I'll put it in the chat. You're welcome to put it on your phone, because often in a migraine flare, our brain goes out the window and we don't remember what to do or how to do it because we're so overwhelmed. So the first step is to breathe. That is one of the best ways to help ourselves activate the rest and digest response. And so I'm going to teach you what's called the physiological sigh. This type of breathing has a ton of research backing how effective it is in helping us feel more relaxed. And the physiological sigh involves inhaling through the nose. We'll do it, but I'll describe it first. Then we're going to inhale a little bit more to feel really full through the lungs. And then we're going to exhale out the mouth with a sigh. It's always helpful to have hands resting on yourself. So if you want to put a hand on the heart and belly, it helps bring a sense of comfort. And also you can feel your breath as you do that. So we're going to go for 3 physiological sighs. So you're going to inhale through the nose, sip in a little bit more, hold it, and let it out your mouth. Okay, a couple more. Inhale through your nose, sip in some more, and let it out. You're welcome to or anything else verbally to relax. And we'll do one last one. Inhale through the nose. Bring in more. Hold it here. Feel full. And let it go. So you might notice feeling just a little bit calmer. And that's something you can repeat if you'd like to do more than 3. But 3 is a good starting point. After you've connected to your breath, we're going to relax your muscles. And 2 of my favorite ways to do that are through doing shoulder rolls, and then a couple, the numbers got a little weird in the chat, shoulder rolls and then some neck stretches. So shoulder rolls are great because when we get tense, we often feel it in the neck and shoulders, and then moving helps sync our breath and our movement together so we feel more regulated. So we're just going to lift the shoulders up and relax it back and down. You can inhale up, exhale down, again lifting up, and exhale down. And now reverse it, squeezing back, up and forward. Inhale up, Exhale forward. One more. And exhale. Good. Roll it back and down just to reset. And great question, Taryn. I'll make sure to address that at the end about breathing and some of the discomfort that sometimes that can create. So we have breathed, starting to relax. We are starting to relax tension in the shoulders. And now for a little bit for the neck, we'll relax the right ear towards the right shoulder, just tilting the head slightly. And then inhale, center. Exhaling to the left. Inhale, center. And let's just do 3 rounds. Exhaling to the right. Inhaling, center. Exhaling, left. And center. Last one. Right. And center. Left. And center. And then you can just toggle the head out, just ease out the head again. And then the last step before you decide what to do about your escalating migraine symptoms is to share a supportive message of safety to yourself. So having that hand on the heart and belly again is a great place to land. This is your message of safety that feels authentic to you, that feels supportive. It's like what you might say to a friend or a loved one if they were going through the same thing. So some examples are, I can handle whatever happens today. I will be okay. I am resilient. I've experienced migraine before. I can do it again. So this is where you might just find the one-liner that resonates most for you. Personally, I tend to go towards I can handle whatever happens. And then you'll put your hand on your heart, hand on your belly. You might just take a moment to close your eyes and then say that statement to yourself. I will be okay, no matter what. And then exhale. And then you'll relax and hopefully you have moved into more of that rest and digest state, which is going to help de-escalate your symptoms, de-escalate that panic spiral. So then you can decide what to do next. And from there, your options might still be wait and see. It might be get your meds out. It might be get your ice pack. It might be cancel plans, but you're going to come to it with a clear mind. You're going to come to it with more relaxation. Will you still have a migraine attack that day? You might, and that's okay. But this is just a simple way to help make that suffering, that distress we often experience when our symptoms go up, make that moment easier, kind of reduce the extra layers of suffering that we have when we have migraine. So you can feel like you know you have more clarity on what to do next. This type of supportive, relaxing response can soften the pain, reduce that mental and emotional suffering, and give you some greater clarity as to then take steps if you choose to do something with your treatment that day. And with these moments when our migraine escalates, what we're learning to do is to just soften some of that understandable resistance that we have. Nobody wants migraine. Nobody wants to feel these symptoms. Nobody wants to change their day because of it. But fighting with it is often what escalates and makes this more difficult for ourselves. And know you've got this basic plan here to breathe, to relax your muscles, and to send yourself a message of safety and support. And it's very normal when you are in the moment, say tomorrow, and your migraine symptoms are escalating, that you forget all about it. It all goes out the window and you're overwhelmed. So if that's the case, I will be emailing out again a little summary of this, the replay, and it can be helpful even on your phone, like if you have notes, to just have a little button on your home screen, like migraine flare emergency plan. So it's easy to remember and you can come back to it. I also have just a real basic $7 migraine flare toolkit where it has even more relaxing practices that we didn't even get into today that you literally can do without leaving your bed to help you through a difficult day. So I'll throw that in the chat as well, the Migraine Flare Toolkit. And if this type of practice, this approach to migraine feels supportive and you are interested in more guidance into this in the future, I will be sharing in June more ways to continue this type of work to help support everyone during Migraine Headache and Awareness Month. And especially if you're looking for more simple support to live with migraine with less fear, less overwhelm, with more sustainable tools to help you. So I'll come back to some of the questions and we'll do Q&A. So I know I had a question from Taryn. Is it normal to have pressure and discomfort when inhaling a little bit with a little bit of lightheadedness? Yeah, so when we're inhaling, that actually activates that sympathetic response, that kind of fight or flight, which is normal to feel a little more discomfort during that phase. And then that's why we kind of build that up slightly so that when you exhale out your mouth, you have an even bigger release. The exhale is actually what brings on that parasympathetic rest and digest response. So you might notice in many of my practices for yoga or breathing, we really let it out, long exhales through the mouth to help bring in more of that relaxation. So when you inhale, you don't need to do it to a point of intense discomfort. There might be a little bit when we're holding our breath, and that's pretty normal. And then Renee asked, explaining the purpose of placing your hands on your heart and belly. Yeah, there's a few of those. So one, just tactily, you can feel your breath move when you do that. So it kind of emphasizes the breath. This is great too if you are feeling more anxious, just having one hand on your heart and belly, because you might notice your chest moving more when you breathe. And then as you just sit and breathe to calm any anxiety, you'll try to feel the breath a little bit more lower in your belly. And that's one way to de-escalate the anxiety. So it's kind of a great way to feel your breath, to help regulate it. And then touch, even your own touch, is calming for pain. So you might notice naturally you stub your toe or you hit your funny bone and you go and rub it. And that's why, because it feels calming. It's a natural instinct we have to calm our pain. So you're bringing in yet another beneficial tool, touch, massage. These are helpful for our pain. Yeah, if you guys have other questions, you can put up the little hand raise feature or throw it in the chat. And then Amy shared, yeah, it's a helpful approach, a little bit different, of just like these slower moments to give ourselves a little space when we notice our symptoms escalate before deciding what to do. And that finding that space, that moment of pause, really helps everything, but especially migraine. And then these glasses are called our FL41 migraine lenses. This is from a brand called TerraMed, which I'll get the link up for you guys. And they're more affordable than some migraine glasses, but I usually wear them on the computer just to kind of reduce that screen load. So I'll put the link for the glasses. And I had a question, can I say more about pain reprocessing therapy and how it works for migraine? Yeah, so pain reprocessing is a newer approach to working with chronic pain in which we start to retrain the brain to have less fear and anxiety about our symptoms, similar to what I explained today, so that we disrupt this fear and pain cycle that often happens when we are dealing with chronic pain. So for migraine, where I personally think migraine is affected by biopsychosocial factors. There is a biological, genetic element, but there's also a psychological, an emotional, a social element to all pain, but migraine as well. So what I find pain reprocessing helpful in to seeing how we can use these different levers of our experience. We've got, for most people, they've got their meds, maybe devices to help on this biochemical level. But our thoughts and our emotions are also levers that we can tinker with to help de-escalate our pain. And I find pain reprocessing has a really good framework for helping us to see some of those thought patterns that you all very accurately described when we feel our symptoms rise, that anxiety, that panic, that worry, that worst case scenario, and learning to feel safer with the symptoms. So then there's an aspect of it called somatic tracking where you might sit with those symptoms and learn to feel more at peace with them, learn to feel less fear about them. And that's done with some repetition and practice. A lot of it is learning to have less resistance to our symptoms, and in turn, with less fear, less trying to fix it, trying to accept it, this can turn our symptoms down. If you think of pain like a pain dial, we're learning ways to turn the symptoms down, knowing that life with migraine, it does fluctuate and flares happen, but we have more and more tools to manage them and make them feel less overwhelming, and also turn down like that emotional and mental distress that we experience. Understandably, when our pain gets worse, like emotionally, it's harder. We're more sensitive, we're moodier, we're irritable, and recognizing that's part of the package. And then how can we meet ourselves with kindness in those moments, with self-compassion? That's a lot about pain reprocessing, but if you have more questions, feel free to reach out. Probably one of the best known books on the topic is called The Way Out by Alan Gordon. He was featured in the Migraine World Summit last year. And after reading that book, that definitely encouraged and inspired me to get trained with his center on pain reprocessing. Well, I'll hang out for a few more minutes if there are further questions, but otherwise, if there was something that you felt like was an aha moment for you in this workshop, or something that you want to remember, feel free to put it in the chat. And I really appreciate you, especially coming here live to be a part of this. I really hope it makes the process of living with migraine just a little bit easier, a little calmer, and know that you are not alone in your experience. Yeah, thanks. Hopefully those 3 steps will be easy to keep up with. Breathe and relax your muscles and say something supportive to yourself. Well, thank you all. I'll hang out, but you're welcome to say goodbye. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Evelyn and Connie and Sherry. The name of the book I mentioned is called The Way Out by Alan Gordon. I'll see if I can pull it up. And yeah, it's a quick, actually entertaining read on chronic pain. And I also mentioned Dr. Rachel Zoffness. She just came out with a new book that I just finished yesterday on the biopsychosocial approach to pain. Highly recommend her book. It's called Tell Me Where It Hurts: The New Science of Pain and How to Heal. So I'm going to put that in the link too. All right. Tell Me Where It Hurts. That's by Dr. Rachel Zoffness. And really love her approach. It's very balanced and discussing how we can adjust all our pain dial using all these levers, our thoughts, our emotions, but also our meds, exercise, doing it in a very doable, step-by-step, baby step way. And then Melissa asked, yes, the glasses I'm wearing are from TerraMed. And I put it in the chat, but I'll put it up again. TerraMed glasses. Thank you, Carolyn, for your kind words. Adrian's guidance and yoga for migraine have changed my life. I now have so many tools to address my migraine. Adrian is compassionate and very knowledgeable. Thank you, Carolyn. Carolyn was one of my very first Beyond Migraine clients, and she's still coming to my events, which I am very honored for. So thank you, Carolyn. Really appreciate it. All right, friends. Well, I will share in an email the next day the replay, notes from this, and in June, you might hear from me again for a big support system in June for Migraine and Headache Awareness Month to help you feel more supported. Thank you all. Reach out. Bye.